It was 1 hour before our wedding when I got a call from my fiancé, asking me to meet him in another room at the hotel we booked. I asked him if he was joking and refused to meet him. I told him he couldn't see me before the wedding. He said that it was rubbish and just a myth. I could tell he was getting angry. I told him to calm down and said that I would meet him. I was ready, but I hadn't put my dress on yet, so I slipped some jeans on and took his sister with me. She was one of my bridesmaids. I told her that her brother seemed angry, and she looked at me confused, telling me that he seemed perfectly happy yesterday. We reached the room he was in and knocked. He opened the door and he looked furious with me. His sister asked him what was wrong, but he just stared at me. Then, out of nowhere, he looked me in the eye and told me he cheated on me. I looked at him shocked. I nervously laughed and asked him if this was a joke. He just kept staring at me. I couldn't read him. I looked at his sister, and she pushed his arm, telling him to stop freaking with me. He said he wasn't. He said he had zero regrets about it because he knew what I had done. A few tears slipped out. I was prone to anxiety attacks, so I took deep breaths. This would be a really bad time to have one. I asked why he was doing this an hour before our wedding. I asked what I had done that was so bad. I asked him when he cheated on me, and he said, "Last night." I felt my heart break. His sister shouted, "Rubbish." She told him that he was so excited yesterday. She questioned what happened now. He said that he had met my ex yesterday evening, and he had told him everything that happened at my bachelorette party. I was confused, and I could feel my body shaking. I told him my bachelorette party was very simple. It was nothing over the top, and he knew that. I only had a few drinks, but I wasn't drunk. I asked him who he was talking about, but he didn't give me a name. He accused me of cheating on him multiple times after the bachelorette party and said that he knew everything. He said that my ex had told him everything. I told him that it was all a lie and tried to go near him, but he backed off, telling me not to touch him. I had started full-on crying at this point. I asked him how he could believe somebody else over me. I told him that it was unclear. I told him that his sister drove all of us home that night and she agreed. She put her arms around me, trying to comfort me, and told her brother off. She told him to stop playing around. I looked at him and everything was blurry. I could feel an anxiety attack coming. I wiped my eyes and tried walking up to him. I told him to please believe me, that I would never do something like that to him. I told him that we were in a 5-year relationship. I wouldn't even think of betraying him. I held his hand, and he plucked my fingers off him. I told him that I would never do this to him. I was begging him to listen to me. All of my emotions were overwhelming me. I looked at him, and he looked back at me with so much disgust that I backed off. I asked him again who had said that about me. He removed his phone from his pocket and showed me a picture, and I was stunned. That wasn't my ex. I remember falling to the floor and feeling someone's hands on me. I grasped the hand on my face. It was my fiancé's. The door opened, and in came my brother. I pointed to him and looked at my fiancé. I could see through my tears that he was nodding at me as if he were confirming something. He was talking, but I couldn't hear him. I could hear a slight buzzing sound. I was having an anxiety attack. My brother carried me, and I passed out. I don't remember anything that happened after that. I woke up in the hospital. My parents were beside me. They saw me gain consciousness and immediately called the doctor. The doctor did a few checks and said that I had had a severe panic attack. I was drained. I asked for water and my mom hurriedly gave me some. He asked if I had ever had these bad anxiety attacks before, and I said no. Even talking was tiring. I said I was tired, and I went back to sleep. The next day, I was taken back to the hotel. My fiancé was at the hospital, but I refused to see him. His parents came to check in on me and apologize repeatedly. They explained to me that my fiancé and my brother had decided to prank me right before the wedding because they thought it would be funny. My brother was supposed to burst in when my fiancé showed me the picture and tell me it was all a prank, but it was too late. I was already under a severe attack by then. I didn't have the energy to respond to them. I didn't have the energy to cry either. My mom told me that my fiancé was outside the door at the hospital, crying his eyes out and mumbling apologies. The wedding was obviously canceled. The guests were informed that I was at the hospital. My parents and his parents were sorting everything out. My brother had tried speaking to me, but I didn't want to see him either. I was drained and distraught. What were they thinking? It was my wedding day. We went home the next day. It's a good thing we had professionals managing everything. They assured my family that everything would be taken care of. My parents have asked my fiancé's family for some space. I'm currently staying with my parents for a while. 1 month later, my brother and fiancé have shown up at my parents' house at least 15 times. His family have come to check on me multiple times. I let his sister stay over a few times. She was there with me when this situation occurred and stood by me even through it. She had called my parents up immediately, and they had caught up to my brother at the entrance of the hotel. She told me that the prank they had planned was recorded. My parents wanted to see it, but I didn't. I told them they could do whatever they wanted. I didn't want to argue with anybody. I told them to delete it after. A few days later, she stayed over again, and she told me that her brother still has a copy of the video. She told me he watches it almost every day and tortures himself with it. They were staying with his parents. Their house wasn't that far from here. I didn't know what to tell her. All I could think about was that I was supposed to be on my honeymoon now. 1 month later, I met my brother. He gave me a tight hug. I knew he was racked with guilt. He told me he never wanted to spoil my wedding day. I didn't say much to him. He told me he never knew that my anxiety attacks could get that bad. He told me that he hadn't even thought about it. I just nodded my head. I didn't want to blame him, but I did. I blamed them both. That week itself, I met my fiancé. I don't know what he was. His expression was so torn when he saw me. When I saw him, the look of disgust that he gave me kept flashing in my head. The anxiety attack may have faded, but it was still messing with my head. He tried to hug me, but I didn't let him. He pretty much said the same things my brother did. He said he regretted even thinking about pranking me. He never wanted to hurt me. I didn't say much. I did give him the ring back. That tore him up, and he started bawling. I was crying too. He begged me for another chance, but I just shook my head and told him no. 1 week later, I'm in therapy now. What happened had a huge effect on him and me. We're both in therapy. He had been trying to convince me to take couples therapy. I thought about it. My parents also said that it would be good for me. I agreed to it. I also decided to try therapy with my brother because there are clearly hurt feelings there, and I'm unable to say what I feel. 5 months later, therapy has been working. My brother and I took a little trip with our family a week ago. I feel happier now. Couples therapy has been working too. It made me realize that I still loved him and that we had to move past this together. I've decided to give him another chance. I'm not taking back the ring though. I'm not ready to just yet, and he understands that. I can tell he has been paying a lot of attention to how I feel constantly. He doesn't want to overwhelm me. We are still working on it. This whole situation just seems so messed up. Why would they do that an hour before the wedding? On that day, the bride would already be nervous and stressed out. I think all of these factors played into her having such a bad anxiety attack. I'm glad all of them are doing okay. I feel bad for the bride. But the groom took a hard hit from it too. He didn't mean to hurt her. I don't think anyone is the a-hole here. It was a bad prank at the wrong time. So, I, 26 female, gave birth to my daughter last February. So far it's been a wonderful experience, especially the birth and pregnancy. However, I had one somewhat bad experience early on that I forgot about until now. For my first appointment, I didn't know that instead of over-the-belly ultrasounds, they do vaginal ultrasounds. The technician came in, and right away she seemed cold and upset. It wasn't anything egregious, and I figured she was just having a bad day or wasn't a very friendly person. She started doing the exam, and I was immediately super uncomfortable. I have a minor case of vaginismus that I've recovered from, but sometimes I can get triggered back into it. I started hurting, so I told her to stop. She didn't, and pushed it in further, at which point I clamped my legs shut. She then turned to my boyfriend and told him to tell me to relax because she couldn't do the exam like this. My boyfriend was able to get me to relax and hold my hand so I could focus on the joy of seeing our baby for the first time. She was very cold and rough the whole time. My boyfriend asked her a few questions that she seemed annoyed to answer, but did. I got dressed, and at this point she comes back into the room and is super friendly all of a sudden. She asks if I feel any discomfort and coos over the photos with us. We were very perplexed. We brought up a few ideas but came up short, and I chose not to report because I never saw her again, and I couldn't come up with a reason why she acted like that. One of my friends has a little sister who's 17. She found out she is pregnant a few weeks ago. It was not a planned situation, but she and her boyfriend are choosing to keep the baby, and I've supported them along with her sister. She had her intake appointment this Wednesday and came back from it very upset. She told us how her ultrasound technician was super rude and seemed to be purposely rough and mean to her. After she got her packet and left the room, she heard her talking to another nurse. She didn't hear the whole thing but definitely heard young floozies. She didn't know what that word meant, but when she got back to her car, she Googled it and cried. I asked her to describe the technician, and of course, it was the same woman. At this point, I realized what had happened. Everyone from my family to strangers say I look super young for my age. She must have thought I was a teen, but when she left the room, she looked at my chart and saw I was 25. And that's why she was suddenly super friendly. I didn't know why I didn't think of that, but I was really pissed at this point. I told her, we have to go together and report her. She isn't sure if she wants to report her. She says the other doctors will get mad at her, and she'll have to use a different hospital. Her sister agrees with me, however, and so does my boyfriend. Some have said it's been too long, and I should just let it go. We can't be sure that she was being rude because of that, etc. Would I be the a-hole if I went forward in reporting her? You would not be the a-hole. You and your friend's little sister need to report this person. That is not okay behavior and could easily be considered assault when she is being rough like that on purpose because of age prejudice. You are not the a-hole. She is a medical technician, and as such, should be professional. Her attitude is very unprofessional. I'm sorry both of you were treated like that. What should have been joyful was traumatic, and that's not okay. My cousin was disabled in an accident. He's currently working on regaining mobility, but it's going to take a long time. He has his own apartment with a roommate, but he can't manage on his own yet, and his roommates aren't caretakers. He is essentially being kicked out. I have a spare bedroom at my house, and I've been asked by family to take him in. Other relatives don't have a spare room for him. I refuse because at my house, all of the bedrooms are on the second floor, and he's not able to walk up and down the stairs. He stayed at my house in the past, and it was pretty bad. For example, for pest control reasons, we don't allow eating in the bedrooms. We do make exceptions, such as having a mini fridge with juice and snacks for blood sugar emergencies. This cousin, on several occasions, was caught sneaking food into his room, so he wouldn't have to interrupt his video gaming with having to go downstairs to eat. Also, he spilled food and drinks on the bed, and when he left the room had a stench that took months to disappear. We ended up throwing out the sheets and had to buy a new mattress as well. After he left, we also found roaches in his room and had to have pest control come multiple times for treatment. So, due to past history, we're not thrilled with the request to house him until he's better. We are refusing for safety reasons. There's no way he's going to be moving up and down the stairs, and I'm not going to be his caretaker because I have a toddler, I'm pregnant, and I'm working. I have no energy left to deal with his unclear. In fact, the room that they want him to stay in is the room that I've been turning into the nursery for the new baby. I'm being called an a-hole because he's family and needs help due to the accident. But I don't want to be a caretaker for a man-child with unclear hygiene who didn't follow house rules in the past. I feel bad for him because he has completely lost his independence and is broken down crying every time he talks about how hard he's trying. We know it'll take months, possibly years, to fully recover if even possible. But I don't want to deal with this. Am I the a-hole? I had a chat with my cousin. It seems like there's a lot of assumptions and miscommunication going on. He is insisting that he can live independently and doesn't want to go to any relative's house. He's been in a vulnerable state, and he doesn't want to be viewed as a burden, and more importantly, doesn't want to be seen honestly. He needs a heavy dose of therapy. Everybody else is of the opinion that he needs to be monitored because they are afraid he'll get hurt living alone and should be staying with someone anyways. He has already talked to his apartment and was told there's a ground floor studio opening up in late January, so he can transfer his lease to there. His roommates couldn't technically kick him out because of the lease, but there was already a lot of tension and arguments happening, so he chose to leave on his own. I brought up having home aid, and while he says he doesn't need one, I told him to consider a part-time one, so that they can at least cook meals for him because eating takeout every day isn't healthy at all. They can do things like light cleaning and taking out the trash or doing the laundry because his unclear is filthy. He agreed that someone coming by to cook and clean would be a big help. I also told him that if he wants to live alone that he needs to have a life alert service because if he falls, nobody would know about it for hours or days. I even offered to pay for it, but he said it's for old people and doesn't need it because his smartwatch can call 911 if needed. I'm going to respect his decision for now, but I'm also going to be keeping an eye on him. You guys make it sound like bridges should be burning with all family members, but we're all trying to look out for each other at heart. You are not the a-hole, so they want him to move in with you, and then what? Are you supposed to be his caretaker? Is he able to use the restroom by himself? Bathe himself? Does he have a home health aide that helps? You are having a baby, therefore, you no longer have an extra room, nor do you need the stress, not to mention how horrible of a house guest he was last time when he was able-bodied. Everyone wants to call you an a-hole because they don't want to do it themselves. You are not the a-hole. You are pregnant and have a toddler, and you are working. Depending on how disabled he is, you would also become his caretaker, and he would be reliant upon you. Even without his past issues and your past experiences with him living with you, it's okay to tell them no. It's okay to set boundaries. If the other relatives want to call you names or be rude about it, ask them why they refuse to make room for him. If they want him to stay somewhere so badly, why don't they use their money to get him a place? Have you asked them why they expect you to take responsibility for someone that they want? For them to insult you for saying no is really manipulative, toxic, and abusive. I suggest going low or no contact if you can. That sounds unhealthy, and I'm sorry you're dealing with that while you already have your hands so full. They should be offering to help you with things, not asking you and verbally assaulting you into helping someone else. You are not the a-hole. You don't have an extra room, that's the nursery. Even if you did have an extra room, it's upstairs where he can't get to it. He'd need to stay downstairs on a hired hospital bed or something. Surely he could do that just as easily at his parents' or another relative's place. You're pregnant and have a young toddler. You can't be a caretaker for him too, so he'd still need a caretaker. He could hire a caretaker to allow him to live at his own place. They don't have to be live-in around here. They come in 8-hour shifts or stay in a rehab facility or rent a bed and stay in a closer relative's living room.